Today's topic is averages from a stem and leaf diagram. So last lesson you should have spent a bit of time actually drawing out some stem and leaf diagrams. Other than actually working out an average, the stem and leaf diagram doesn't have much use. However, when it comes to finding averages, in this case the mode, the median and the range, the stem and leaf diagram is quite a useful little tool to have. You can start off by making sure you've got your title, grade and date into your book. First little diagram we've got here is a stem and leaf diagram for numbers ranging from 50s, 60s and 70s. You must ensure that you've got some form of key. So here, if we've got 5, line and 6, equaling 56, that would be our key, so that will help us when we're working this one out. In order to find the mode, we simply look for the most common number. Now this must appear all on the same row, because a 2 on this list and a 2 on this row do not represent the same thing. So here the most common number is this 2 here on this row, and if you remember, because it's 6 with a 2 just there, that means that the mode for this one is 62. That is the number that appears the most often. The range is the next one I'm going to look at because that's the next easiest one to do. So the range, remember, is the biggest number take away the smallest number. Well, the biggest number on an ordered stem and leaf always appears in the bottom right hand corner. It will be at the bottom row on the right hand side. So here, this 3 is what we use for the biggest number, but remember that represents the number 73. So for range we would do 73, take away. We would then need the smallest number. The smallest number is always going to be on the top row here, and it's going to be this first one. So here the smallest number is 51. So I would do 73, take away 51 to give me a range of 22. The final one we need to do is the median. This is the middle number. When we were doing middle number or median from a list of numbers, the first thing we had to do is put the numbers in order. The stem and leaf diagram has already done this for us. So what we now need to do is find the number that is in the middle. This can sometimes be a little bit trickier to do, but if you take your time, it should be fairly straightforward. What we do is, if I use a bit of a crossing out method, is if I cross off the smallest and then the biggest number on the entire table, and then repeat. So the smallest number and the biggest number, and I will just keep crossing these off in pairs. So the smallest number and the biggest number. The next smallest number is this 62, and the biggest number. Smallest number and biggest number, leaving us just one number left. So the median here we read using this 2, but remember it's on the 6th line, so it represents 62. So I will say that the median is 62. Let's have a look at another example. So here, if we are using a key of this, so 19 with a line and 3 representing 193, we are simply looking at the numbers in the hundreds. Let's start with the first one, the mode. That is the number that appears most often. Scanning through the stem and leaf diagram, there are 3 3s on this top line, meaning there are 3 163s. On this next line down, there are 3 1s here. This means there are 3 171s. There are no other numbers that appear as many or even more often than that. However, because there are 3 163s and 3 171s, it is a tie. There is no number that appears more than anything else. So we would say no mode. Or as we said with the list questions that we did a couple of lessons ago, we could say bimodal, but we'll leave it as no mode for now. When it comes to the range, it's the same. The biggest number represented on the entire diagram is on this bottom row on the far right hand side. It is this 8, which links with this 19 to make 198. The smallest number is on the top row on the left hand side using this 3. It's on the 16 line, so our range is 198, take away 163. If we do that, we get an answer of 35 for the range. When it comes to the median, we're going to do the same thing. This can be a little bit time consuming, but for now it is probably the best way of doing it. We are going to go through the diagram again, crossing off smallest and biggest numbers. You must make sure you do these in pairs, as we will see in a minute when we get to the number in the middle. So again, smallest and biggest. Smallest, biggest. And we keep going with the same method. So smallest, biggest, now it is at the end of this row. Smallest and biggest. So smallest, biggest. Smallest and biggest. Leaving us two numbers in the middle here, the 5 and the 8. So just as we did with averages from a list, we need to find what number is halfway between. This is now the third time we've been able to use this little trick. So to find what is between halfway, so between 5 and 8, we would do 5, add 8, and divide it by 2. So in this case, 13 divided by 2, use a calculator if you need to, is 6.5. But just remember, it is not 6.5 because that is on the 17 row. The median comes out as 176.5. You should now be able to attempt the questions from the averages from a stem and leaf worksheet. I'm going to say for this instance that you don't have to draw the diagrams out in your book for every single question, but I will expect you to draw the first 3 or 4 out so that you've got a few more examples.